Spend the morning with me, homeless and 6 months pregnant, currently staying in a homeless shelter. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kia Munger. I am a content creator slash singer who was diagnosed with HG, hyperemesis gravidae, which causes me to throw up 20 times a day, lose a significant amount of weight. It caused me not to work, and I lost my job, I lost my house, and the only thing I have is my car, and I thank God for that. But I have to start all over. I immediately got up at 6 a.m. because we have to be out of the shelter at 7:30 a.m. and we can come back after 4:30 p.m. I tried to get in the showers early just so I won't run into anybody because last night I just felt like I was getting some weird looks. And also last night somebody went in the dryer and stole a pair of my underwear. I couldn't believe it, but hey, this is the life of living in shelter. Today I plan to go ahead and get my documents done for my new job, starting at a daycare. I thank God for that. And I also have a job interview tomorrow for a CNA job. So just pray for me on that. And I thank you guys for all the donations in the Cash App. It really helps with anything that I need, gas, food, everything. So my Cash App is below, and the GoFundMe link is in my bio. But the best donation you can ever give me is prayer. Thank you for praying for me. Thank you for the encouragement words. I immediately got my things together and packed up everything so I wouldn't be stolen from again. And I ran into this beautiful girl named Solar, and I invited her to coffee with me just around the corner. I went to go get coffee and spend time with God. I'm reading the book of Mark, and I'm just amazed at God's grace and then just who He is. And I'm so glad that I'm back on my grind, getting my.
Welcome to a night in my life as a 21-year-old mom living in the shelter. You guys, I finally got my daughter a pack and play and I'm super excited. Like, you guys have no idea how happy I was unpacking this and building it up for her. I was kind of worried about the little mattress on the bottom, but it's actually kind of soft. I'm still going to get her an extra mattress so she could be very comfortable. Look at these cute shoes I got her. She isn't walking yet, but I want her to start getting used to shoes, and I got her a few things off Amazon I showed you guys. She needed that nail clipper so bad. Like, she's always scratching me. She scratches herself all the time. She's literally in that stage where when she gets mad, she throws things and scratches herself, so I'm trying to teach her how to be more gentle. Anyways, I finally got her own plates and I'm super excited. I'm definitely going to be trying different meals. I have been applying to Housing Connect for a few years now, and I finally heard back from them. They did tell me to send my documents. The only issue is that they did ask me for my voucher, and I currently don't have one because I haven't been found eligible by PATH yet. There is a deadline, so I did call the Section 8 to see if I could get removed from my mom's case, and all they said was that they could put a note and see if they would remove me faster. Let me clarify that my mom already did request my removal, so that is pending. I will definitely keep you guys updated on that, but I am praying and hoping that I don't lose this housing opportunity. Welcome to a night in my life as a 21.
Man, I mean, the one thing that intersects when we look at these two different scenarios, these two different situations, the one thing that flags in my mind is the fact that wouldn't life just be so much simpler, so much sweeter, so optimistic if we didn't decide to have children? I believe the first clip we watched, she said she was pregnant, 6 months pregnant currently. And then now we have here a 21-year-old who was a single mom living in a shelter. If you remove getting pregnant out of the equation or conceiving a child out of the equation, I don't think that these ladies would be in these situations. It's so avoidable. It's so, there's never been as many forms of contraception as there is now. But yet, people are making these impulsive decisions that have permanent implications on their life and on their trajectory. So that's the main thing. I mean, they're going to have to figure it out now. Like she said, the 21-year-old, it looks like she's waiting on her Section 8 to come through. And I've noticed a pattern with a lot of the women who are in the shelters. A lot of times they are just buying time because those waiting lists for Section 8 can be very long, very strenuous, pretty lengthy. And so a lot of times this is just a temporary limbo for them until that ultimately comes through. But it doesn't have to be this hard. I would argue that these ladies will be able to figure it out on their own, as well as they would have much more flexibility and opportunities that they would be able to capitalize on while they're young and have energy. I understand that other woman, she has some medical issues that is insane based off what she said. I think she said she throws up 20 times a day. But y'all, let's get back into it though. If you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know. And also, if you could hide.
So let me tell you the story.
Her caption says, "Story time on why it took me 16 months to get out of the New York shelter."
And why it took me 16 months to get out the shelter. And just because it took me 16 months, that doesn't mean it'll take you 16 months. And whatever went on with me is my situation. If you're on it and you're doing what you have to do, you will be out in 6 months and maybe even less. So, as you guys know, I entered the shelter system March 2024. September 2024, I had my apartment and everything. I was ready to go. They're processing my paperwork to move. The only thing that was wrong is they didn't have a deed. And the rental office of where I was moving to was acting like they didn't have a deed. They couldn't give them a deed. And the shelter kept explaining to me that that's funny business and how don't they have a deed? Like, it doesn't make sense. But at the time, I was very pregnant and I just really wanted to move into my apartment before I had my baby. But those weren't the plans for me. So one day, finally, I was so sick and tired, and I'm just like, damn, like I'm gonna lose my apartment because it was already like 3 months, like of doing the paperwork and stuff that they were sitting on my apartment, kept updating my lease every month. So finally, one day I was arguing on the phone. Well, I wasn't even arguing. I was cursing out my caseworker on the phone. Mind you, your caseworkers are in the shelter that you're at. So I was on my floor in my room. I'm talking to my caseworker. He's upstairs on the top floor. So we're talking.
Imagine that you're going off on your caseworker and basically treating your caseworker like it's customer service for what I'm assuming is for you to be able to get some free assistance, some free benefits. We can't lose sight of that. I did look at her profile. She has at least 2 kids, allegedly. At least 2 kids. Common theme, kids, single. These things correlate, and it's starting to produce a pattern of not degeneracy, but degeneracy, but destitution. These are the ingredients for when they come together. We see a lot of people in destitution. Are there some people who aren't? Yes. But ultimately, these are constraints on your life that make it harder than the average single person or the average relationship who actually decide to have children in the context and in the foundation of some type of stable relationship.
So I was on my floor in my room. I'm talking to my caseworker. He's upstairs on the top floor. So we're talking. I start cursing at him on the phone, and he says, "Miss Santana, I'm not dealing with this abuse," and hangs up the phone on me. I got so pissed off. Mind you, don't forget, I'm like 6, 7 months pregnant, like real big, very emotional. I went upstairs. I went to his office, and I completely destroyed the whole thing. I did. The computers, through everything. I just did a bunch of stuff that I wasn't supposed to. I was very nasty to him, and that's something that I shouldn't have done. And listen, if Mr. Reyes, if you're seeing this, I sincerely apologize, and I shouldn't have done that. And karma got me 100%. And it honestly just slowed up my process, like real bad.
It slowed up your process. Shouldn't that have halted the process altogether? You went and destroyed your caseworker's office, destroyed what I would assume is government equipment, computers, the works, and she's just like, that slowed up my process. I would think that should make you ineligible, but I doubt she's saying it slowed things up. I doubt she took accountability. And here's what I mean. I believe what she probably did was she just blamed it on the pregnancy and the elevated emotions, as if she doesn't have self-control. As if she doesn't have self-control. And so it ultimately didn't strike against her, and she was still able to get free benefits. But ultimately, what this leads to is the entitlement. You feel entitled to free benefits to the point to where you feel entitled to get it on your time. And ultimately, if you're rushing the process, what you're ultimately trying to do is you're trying to skip the line. So by them speeding it up for you, that then pushes somebody else back that might have been in the process before you, which will be the fair thing to do. So you don't want things to be fair. You want it to be biased towards your needs at the time. in your decisions that you decided to make, because you're pregnant in a shelter, which means that you got pregnant while you already weren't in a stable financial position, which means that that was a decision that you made impulsively as a grown woman. And I would assume that this would have been the second child. So you probably already had one. But then all of a sudden, it's on everybody else to have urgency for your situation and your circumstance you decide to put yourself in. So they got to be responsible, and they got to be responsible on your time. And I find that incredible. Let's watch part 2, because this was just part 1.
So now after I destroyed his office, whatever, I went to jail. Sure did. They called police on me. I went to jail. You cannot do that to shelter staff. Do not do that to shelter staff. Like I said in another video, don't go in the shelter arguing with the staff. At the end of the day, then people are there to help you. I just didn't understand at the time, and I was just so hard headed, and I just was pregnant in my emotions. Anyway, I went to jail. They released me like 2-3 hours, gave me a ticket to go to court, whatever. They moved me to Queens. Now, when they moved me to Queens, it was completely filthy. And I was so far from my doctors. My doctors, when I was pregnant, was in Westchester. So they gave me a transfer back up to Manhattan. But I was in Queens for 2 weeks. During this process, I wound up losing my voucher because my voucher had expired. And I wasn't working, so I couldn't just get a new voucher like right away. I had to go back to work and stuff. So now they moved me to Queens, whatever. I was in Queens for 2 weeks. They moved me back to Manhattan. They moved me to Manhattan, so that was like the beginning of October. I had the baby the end of October. 2 weeks after I had the baby, they moved me. I added my daughter's father onto the case because, I needed the help. We want to do the family thing. 2 weeks, no, like 3 weeks actually of him being there. We got into a really big fight. He called the shelter. I said I'm putting his stuff outside. He said if I put his stuff outside and something happens to it, he's gonna pew the shelter up. And that's what he called the shelter himself and told them that if I put his stuff outside, that's what he's gonna do. And they came to my room. They made me pack me and my kids up. They put me in a room for safety, and they told me I'm in a domestic violence situation. They're kicking him off my case, and they're transferring me. That's when I got moved to my New York City luxury shelter apartment because of domestic violence. He threatened the shelter, so that is what happened. So anyway, when I added him onto my case, it made me ineligible again.
Exactly.
So I literally lost my eligibility. It was the worst thing ever. Everything about this man is just negative.
That's probably why it was taking so long to begin with. And she was saying, I have to go back to work in order to qualify, because the entire time she had this guy, her baby father or whatever, on her case. And so she was under more stipulations, regulations, because there's a grown man associated. But then once he got off, then all of a sudden things went smoothly. But it looks like she possibly worked it out with him and sorted it out. So now it then made things hard again. Let's talk about this for a second, because let's talk about equality and fairness. Because I'm going to just call it like I see it, and I'm going to just be objective about it. And then you can take the information and you can ponder it however you like. But a lot of people complain about fairness, especially when we talk about between genders and equality. And there is always going to be balance in the universe. There's going to be pros and cons to everything. Some people like to focus on the cons, and they don't see the pros that they actually get, and they're not grateful for that. And what I'm referring to is, let me just ask this question. Is it discrimination? Because even when a lot of people refer to shelters, they call it women's shelters. So would that then be discrimination against men because they're not able to go into women's shelters, and you've designated it for women and you call it women's shelters? I don't know men's shelters out there for real. And I think if we did the math, there would be far more women's shelters than men's shelters. Is that discrimination? Because there are some thought processes as far as, oh, it's a man's world, or men have it better in jobs, or they've been having better professions or whatever. But isn't there a balance to everything? Because there's pros to being a man. I'm not going to deny that. But there's also cons to being a man. And there's pros to being a woman. And there's also cons to being a woman. So are you going to take the good and the bad? Because there's a lot of women on assistance, waiting on assistance. And like she just said, feeling entitled to assistance and feeling entitled to assistance on their time. So do you want to give that up? Because I notice there's been a lot of disempowering of men just continuously happening. And there's always been fairness. But when you ask, okay, or not even when you ask, when we see that even benefits are getting dialed back, all in the spirit of equality and personal responsibility, since everybody's an adult, everybody's equal, everybody clearly has the same capabilities, functionalities. We see a lot of people complaining and feeling entitled. So I don't understand that. Do we want it? Do we want equality and fairness or not? Should everybody get drafted into the military? Should everybody get drafted into the military and have to be on the draft? There are pros and cons to being a man and a woman. But in totality, it really balances out when you really think about it. And nobody wants to give up the pros, but they don't want to accept the cons. I find that incredible, and I wanted to just put that out there. Again, y'all, if you could like the video, it only takes a second.
6 months of fighting my eviction case.
I've got to mitigate quality control. We're not about to sit here and talk about a dog. Now, also my last little rant that I made, I want to preface this as well that I don't want to see men's shelters. I don't want things to be equal like that as far as men having shelters and I'm paying, it's coming out of my tax dollars and all this type of stuff. But I'm just bringing to light some of the hypocrisy and some of the ideas and really just the ungratefulness, so that instead of people always complaining and saying what they don't have or feeling like they don't, things are unequal in certain areas, but not recognizing where it's unequally yoked in certain positive areas for themselves, and they don't see that, they just expect it, they just feel like that should be there. But now what about this? It's to flag that so people can be grateful for what they actually have and some of the privileges that they have, and stop always looking outward at a privilege that maybe someone else has or another gender has or another ethnicity has, whatever it could be. Just be grateful for some of the things you have. The first woman, which I think she had music in her clip too, so maybe it will cut out. But just so you know, the first clip, she says she throws up 20 times a day. 20 times a day. And she was positive, and she even met somebody and they went and got coffee. So she's dealing with it, and she's in a shelter, and she's still being positive. Stop always looking outward for what you don't have. We live in the greatest time ever that it's ever been. That it's ever been. His caption says 6-month long eviction. And then his description says a win is a win.
After 6 months of fighting my eviction case, finally got possession of my property. I got a writ of possession back in June. I waited for the marshals to enforce it. However, the tenant just moved out. Didn't pay rent since February, was living rent free for 6 months and just probably saved up enough money to go somewhere else. I don't know what they did, but that shit is crazy. Fulton County, Atlanta, state of Georgia, I gotta lock in on this shit. I just got finessed bad. You know what I'm saying? They stole my TV, they stole my water hose, but property isn't damaged, you know? It could
That's
be
good.
worse. It could be
Yeah.
worse. So I am grateful. And I'm just looking forward to putting a good tenant in there and just putting this behind me, man, for real. Looking forward to putting this behind me. I'm also working with a property management company. I'm gonna put a good bulk of my properties under them just because I can't do this shit no more. This shit is draining time, energy, resources. I can't do it no more. I cannot do it. After 6 months,
Yeah, that's what you should have did from the beginning. They don't even charge that much, I don't believe, property management companies. Because they'll usually have a bunch of different properties they're managing within that area anyway. So he's being grateful. So I respect that because, oh yeah, brother, it could definitely be worse. You're talking about they just stole a TV and a water hose. You got some of these landlords that people do 50K plus of damage. That is a large percentage of probably the house's valuation. So yeah, you definitely got out clean if they just took a water hose and a TV. I think I saw a 75-inch TV the other day for $300 at Walmart.
Here is how I beat my eviction case while living in the public. So get your little pencil and paper and you ready to take some notes because I'm about to help you. The apartment I was living in wasn't completing my maintenance request. I stayed in honor. I continuously stayed in honor. But they wanted me to leave while doing certain maintenance requests when I was during that time working from home and couldn't leave. So they tried to evict me for that, but I did my own research on the company and realized that they were an inactive entity, meaning they weren't paying their franchise tax and weren't supposed to be collecting any type of money payment from tenants if their LLC was not active, wasn't up to date. And I figured this out on the state's corporation that I lived in. So if you ever need to say sue anyone, which you shouldn't be suing anyone, but putting people on notice and need to know who their statutory agent is, where their building is located, then you can search your state's corporations, commissions, business search, and find that company. And when I found that company, and called the corporation.
Boy, some of these ladies, boy, a lot of these ladies, boy, they don't be making good decisions. They be making impulsive decisions, getting pregnant, picking the worst dudes, one of they dudes in prison. But one thing about it, they know these laws. Oh, they know these laws. She looked young. Even at this young age, look how well she knows the laws in order to work the courts. Don't forget, she said she beat an eviction case, which probably gives indication that she hadn't been paying her rent and she's really the wrong party in this situation. And she was still able to do investigation work and then actually leverage the court system and the laws in her favor in order to beat it. She did the impossible with the court system. Man, you get her pregnant and it don't work out. Oh, you're going to be on child support that next morning. And she probably done looked up your job, done the research, and she's probably going to know exactly what your pay stubs are. She probably will already have done the calculation herself. So just understand, these ladies know these laws.
Commission, and they told me that the company wasn't active, as well as providing me with that documentation showing that. So when I received that, I was communicating with an attorney during that time for that company that was trying to evict me, and I informed them of this matter that I came across, and they didn't want to move on with that eviction. But that's when I was living in the public. Now I'm in control of that name. So anybody trying to evict me, put me out, take my not even my belongings, anything that's trust property, because I don't have anything in my name, they would now be violating the trust because that is trust property. And now, if you need additional assistance with
I'm sitting here crying right now because, like I
Her description says evicted while paid up.
said, me and my family are being evicted, and my rescued poodle. And we did nothing to no one. Even was not even given an explanation. I don't know the resources that you guys have. I thought I was doing everything right. You know, I tried to give my kids the best life and move in a nice suburb. So my son wouldn't be involved in the streets. I am the only minority in my community. I didn't think my 4th of July looked like this. You know, I always try to keep a pet so my daughter can have responsibilities because I didn't want her to end up, you know, like a statistic. I was a teen mom. We have built a whole life out here. And my life is in shambles because I gotta uproot everything. I was evicted for no reason. Give it to me. I've been carrying on my rent, on my lot rent, paying everything.
Hold on, we got to explore this further. We're about halfway done with the video, a little less than half. Usually an eviction comes by way of a judge, don't it? Usually an eviction would come by way of a judge, wouldn't it? So, how do you get evicted and it's just unwarranted? I guess she put in here evicted while paid up, but I wonder if it could be another reason. I wonder if she violated the contract in some way, or maybe one of her kids did. Let me read the description. It said, I've lived in my home 5 years, always pay rent on time. Out of nowhere, I got a notice to vacate with no reason. My family is now forced to sell our mobile home and find somewhere safe. Our mental health is suffering. Our rescue poodle has no place to go. And this feels like discrimination. I'm sharing my story to raise awareness and fight for families like mine. If you've experienced unfair eviction or want to support, here's the thing. And then it says, we need help. What do you mean you need help? Help in what way? To fight it? Well, here's the thing. So now we know she's been there for 5 years. So what could have happened? What most likely happened? What most likely happened is that the rent stayed the same for 5 years. And now, let's be honest, if the rent did stay the same for 5 years, then you are actually a very lucky person. And perhaps now they decided they wanted to raise the rent in accordance with market prices, or maybe they want to sell the house, whatever, or the land, whatever. And now that just means, your 5 years is up. You're not going to be able to. What did you think when you're renting, you just have the right to something for forever? Things happen. People make moves. People make business decisions. And so 5 years is good. Worst case scenario, you just got to go somewhere else. But the reason why I'm thinking that she is having this reaction for having to move is because now wherever she goes, she would have to now actually settle for market rates. So she could possibly be looking at, especially like she says, she's possibly in a good area. Now she's not going to have that same deal wherever she goes. And so it's going to cut into her bottom line. So that's the only thing that I could really think of, just trying to look at it. But let's see if she'll explain that, what it really is, what the real issue is.
Being on time, doing everything I was supposed to do, keeping my yard clean, making sure my children don't get out of line, because I know that I am the spot in the neighborhood. I feel so discriminated, and I never felt this way in my entire life. And even when I do everything right, it's still like I'm experiencing things and it's still wrong.
Ma'am, that's kind of life. You're an adult. That is life. You're an adult. There's people who did everything right in their career and still got laid off this year. There's people who did everything right, what they told them to do, what they said to do, go to college, get your degree. They got software engineering degrees, and now they've been permanently displaced by AI. So they didn't even just get laid off. Like their degree, their profession, and ultimately their skill set is now obsolete. This is not that big of a deal, if you ask me. You just go somewhere else. You've been there for 5 years. People need to have a little bit more perspective, in my opinion, as well as understanding of how life works. There's people who will come online because their check engine light came on and have the same type of reaction. And it's, did you not know that that could happen? But I digress.
TikTok, if you know anyone, I get on TikTok every day and I put a positive prayer every day to help encourage others. I even help single moms because I know how I feel. I get on her every day and encourage others. Now I need help. I need to be encouraged. I usually smile every day, but today I just can't. I can't smile because I'm distressed and emotion is taking over me because I gotta find a place to live in less than 60 days and I did nothing. I don't even have an explanation. You guys say your prayers, your support, because I really need some help right now. Some answers, some legal fees, something.
Legal fee?
I am depressed. So I've been to eviction, but because I couldn't pay my rent at one time. But when I do get to a point where I can, I'm still getting evicted. God, please.
She might be just being emotional and misconstruing the situation. If I'm not mistaken, a notice to vacate precedes the eviction. And then they would have to go to court and bring whatever it is that they're bringing. So she may be jumping the gun and she may be assuming that that's it. And she's not sitting down and using these supercomputers that we have in our hands to actually understand the situation. But y'all, do I have permission to ask the obvious question? Can I ask the obvious question? I'm dying to. I'm not going to lie. I'm really dying to. I want to ask the obvious question. And the obvious question, this woman has multiple kids and a rescue poodle, and she's out here crashing out. Can't handle what comes with life. Kids, rescue poodle, woman, seems single. The obvious question, do you have a man? Why don't you have a man? It seems like you can't handle stress. You can't handle pressure very well. And that is the perfect thing for a man to be able to solve in your life. If you ask me, they could handle all that stress and they would still be able to move with logic and move in a way to where they're actually solving the problem and they're being effective. This isn't being effective. This isn't helping anything. All you're doing is making yourself feel better, but you're still going to have to deal with the logistics of your circumstance. So, is there a man in the equation? Is that something that you are feeling like you need? Because that could be possibly what you need. Because this isn't going to be the last time that something unexpected comes across your desk and you have to deal with it. Because that's life. That is a guarantee that that's going to happen, God willing. And when I say God willing, that That means if you stay alive long enough, you are absolutely going to have another circumstance pop up that's going to require your immediate attention and ultimately for you to be able to overcome it. And overcome it through either what's already inside you, or maybe you will have to look outside yourself and gain understanding, gain knowledge in order to overcome it, which will actually translate into wisdom moving forward. And that's how you should be looking at these things. Every time I have a hurdle pop up, every time I have adversity pop up, now I know how to handle it moving forward. I gain more wisdom. I look forward to those opportunities. That is the opportunity to wake me up from slumber. A lot of us are out here in unconscious slumber. And then a life thing happens that then stimulates our mind, stimulates our spirit to where now we have to address it. And now it wakes us up from some of our drifting patterns that we grow accustomed to through comfort. So I would look at it as an opportunity. You've been here for 5 years. This could be a welcome change. People don't have perspective. People say that they believe in a higher power, but then when certain things start shifting in their lives that they didn't intend for, they don't think that it could be a divine force that knows better than you, that is rearranging your life for you because you're not doing it yourself. And they don't run towards it, go towards it. They just continue to resist it. And the more they resist it, the harder they make it on themselves. But if you go with it and you try to understand what this is trying to show you and reveal to you, then maybe you would actually be better off. People always are just praying and trying to get an outcome instead of asking for the internal things in order to get their outcome. Asking for strength, for a revelation. And it will probably reveal to you that this isn't that big of a deal. And that, again, the theme of this video is pros and cons. Yes, there's going to be some cons, but maybe you can look forward to the pros. You're going to be in a new area with your kids. That can be exciting. It can be, depending on the lens that you look through life with. You only get one spin on this earth, man. So things are getting shook up a little bit. And the unknown is always going to be a little bit scary. But if you keep your perspective and if you keep your faith, then it can actually be exciting as well. So we'll leave it there for today, y'all. If you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know. And also, if you could hype the video, hype is a new feature that YouTube offers where it helps smaller content creators like myself. And basically, when you hype, it actually pushes us to the extent that it pushes the larger content creators. So you just press the hype button and it shows the points. And since I'm a smaller creator, a smaller channel, we actually get more points per hype. And hype was designed for smaller channels, so that's why. But if you run across a video and you don't see the hype button, then it's probably been over 7 days. And hype usually vanishes after 7 days. So if you want to hype, typically it is best practice to just go ahead and hype while the iron is hot on a fresh video, if that's something you want to do. And then also, if you want to join the membership, if you want to become a member of the channel, then you should be able to see that join button on this video. And what becoming a member of the DXU family would come with is you would get a badge next to your name when you leave comments. So people will be able to see that you're a member whenever you leave your comments, as well as you would get early access to content, as well as exclusive content that's not available to the general public. So again, if you want to become a member, join button on the video. But until then, I will catch you all in the next video.